If you're still streaming at quarterback or tight end, even through the fantasy postseason, you're in the right place. I got you covered with my top 3 quarterbacks and tight end heading into week 14. And let's start at quarterback, counting down. So number 3 is Jalen Hurts. It's a risky start, obviously, because we don't know what he could do. We haven't seen more than just a small bit of action, half, not even half a game in week 13. Look what happened in that game so far. He only completed 5 of 12 passes, but in 5 completions, 109 yards and a touchdown. He did throw a pick. He was sacked 3 times. Obviously, those things come with a rookie, but he has upside, tangible upside, and he has something that Wentz kind of has, but not really, and that's that rushing upside. Wentz is pretty mobile, but Hurts, we've seen what he can do in college. He has that high floor as a rusher, and we could see more of that if they game plan for him as a starter. So keep him in mind. In a single quarterback league, I'm not saying that I would start him unless I really had no other choice. But it is intriguing, and he might be worth a stash. We'll see how he does against Seattle. All right, so number 2, I'm going to go with a guy who's just solid, completely the opposite of what we talked about, far from a rookie, and that's Phillip Rivers. Okay, and he's just been on fire lately. We've seen the stats, mentioned him last week too, and sure enough, he keeps doing it. At least 285 passing yards for 4 straight games. And the best part about it is Rivers is not turning the ball over. And that's something that he's been prone to do, especially last year with the Chargers. He's barely throwing any interceptions these days. And so he's pretty much as safe as you can get. And the matchup is pretty good against the Raiders going into week 14. So Rivers is definitely somebody that is rock solid. And that's kind of what you want in the playoffs. You don't have to worry about your quarterback. But number 1, if he's available, which apparently he is in a lot of leagues, almost half of Yahoo leagues, you see Matthew Stafford still out there. I get we were maybe nervous because Kenny Golladay is still out. The coaching staff has changed. At least the old coach is out. And it was the Bears, which is a really tough defense. But Matthew Stafford just did not care. He threw for 402 yards against this Bears defense. I have a feeling he could do something close to that against Green Bay, which is not terrible. But again, gets into a shootout with Aaron Rodgers. We've seen it before. Stafford just doesn't care. He's a gunslinger. And this offense promised under Darren Bevel that they're going to move at a faster pace. It looks like they have. He put up the points to prove it. And so you've got to like Stafford. And especially if you look at next week, if you keep Stafford on your roster, he's got Tennessee, which is one of the bottom 10 pass defenses so far in the league. Just maybe don't play him in week 16 with Tampa Bay on the schedule. All right, before we get to tight end now, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're here each and every week with waiver wire picks for you to help you win. Now, at tight end number 3, let's go with Tyler Eifert. Name from the past when he was with Cincinnati, when he was able to actually stay healthy. He did have his moments, especially in the red zone, but it's worth noting that he's gotten at least 4 targets for 6 straight games. And now with Mike Glennon under center, he's been a little more productive, finally scored a touchdown, his second of the year last week, and had his most productive game this week with 6 catches, 45 yards. That's not a ton, but still, if you look at the current tight end landscape, things are pretty rough. And Eifert at least is a solid veteran. He's getting those targets. If he gets in the red zone again and Glennon looks his way, could be a pretty nice streamer. Going against Tennessee once again, keep talking about that defense, gives up quite a bit of passing yardage. Number 2, though, guys, really interesting, and this is a rookie. We don't usually recommend rookie tight ends, but Cole Kmet, we have to pay attention. Jimmy Graham was actually a top 10 fantasy tight end for the first half of the season, and now it looks like they're just completely phasing him out of the offense. Don't know if it's just trying to move in a different direction, build for the future, just trying anything out of desperation. Matt Nagy's come under fire for good reason. They're changing up things, play calling. He gave up those duties, so maybe a new play call or a new philosophy. But whatever the point is, past 3 games, Jimmy Graham has a total of 7 targets, and in 2 of those games, he has no catches. Cole Kmet just last week, week 13, had 7 targets, and he caught 5 of them. So it's pretty obvious that they're going towards Kmet more and more. They drafted him pretty early, obviously for a reason. And if you look at the schedule, getting Houston, which is a really great matchup in week 14, Minnesota and Jacksonville, this is a great slate for him. If they keep Kmet involved, he could be a top 10 tight end throughout the fantasy playoffs. But my number 1 pick is maybe going to surprise you a little bit. Now, I know this is maybe a long shot, but I'm saying this for a reason. If George Kittle, that's right, George Kittle is on your waiver wire, go pick him up. And I say that because I'm actually in a league right now where he's on the waiver wire. Now, will he be used? I don't know. Do we trust Kyle Shanahan at his word that he's progressing towards a return this year? Maybe. San Francisco is barely hanging on to their chances for the playoffs. They do have a shot, but we've heard that both Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle are progressing. They could return. I've heard rumors maybe week 15. If not, it could be week 16. But you know what? If you're still in it and it's week 16 and it's the championship game for the playoffs and George Kittle is on your roster and you can put him in your starting lineup, how does that make you feel as opposed to the other guys I just mentioned or the Logan Thomases or the Jordan Reeds of the world? I think I'd rather take a shot on George Kittle, wouldn't you? If he's available, which he is in about a quarter of leagues right now, stash him, put him in place of your other backup at some position. If it doesn't pay off, it costs you a roster spot for a backup. If it does, that could be what sets you over the top to win. All right, guys, hopefully this advice helped. Good luck in week 14 and beyond throughout the fantasy playoffs.